Hello everybody, Guilty here, and welcome to another Blu-ray haul. And this time I've got a real haul for you. The last couple hauls, they weren't bad hauls, but they were nothing compared to this one. I have around 20 to 25 movies in this haul, so yeah, this is gonna be a big one. But I'm not gonna waste any time. I'm gonna need a lot of time to talk about all this, so let's just get into it. So the very first thing I picked up this month was the Blair Witch Project. This has officially become one of my favorite horror films of all time. As you all know, I only saw this movie earlier this year, and I just absolutely love this film. It's scary as fuck, and it's just awesome. It's brilliant. I love it so very much. It's, yeah, this is a 10 out of 10 for me. I just think this movie's absolutely brilliant. So, yeah, I absolutely had to get it on Blu-ray. So, yeah, that is the first thing I got, the Blair Witch Project. Next up, the first Zombieland. I, of course, absolutely loved Zombieland Double Tap so much. Got that on Blu-ray, so I wanted to go back and get the first one on Blu-ray as well, because this one's just as good. I really, really love it. Just an absolutely awesome movie. One of the best horror comedies ever made. Yeah, well, what can you say about Zombieland that hasn't been said a million times? So fun. The characters are just so great. All the performances of all the actors are just phenomenal. This is just, yeah, it's one of the best horror comedies ever made. Zombieland. Super, super awesome. Alright, next up, one of my absolute favorite PG-13 horror movies of all time, Happy Death Day. Oh, this movie is just absolutely phenomenal. It's so great. It's so entertaining. The lead actress in here, Jessica Ross, she absolutely kills it in this movie. She carries the whole movie beginning to end. And yeah, this movie's just a total blast. This is a Blu-ray, DVD, digital combo pack. It's nothing too special. I just really wanted to have the movie because I absolutely love this movie. It's so entertaining. I love it so very much. This is like a 9.5 out of 10 for me. It's just so entertaining. I love it. Next up, let's talk about this one. Hereditary. Hereditary. Alright, this is a absolutely great horror movie. It's creepy as fuck, and it's very effective, and it is also pretty scary at the same time. And the lead actress in here, Toni Collette, she's absolutely phenomenal. However, I do not think this movie deserves nearly as much as the attention that it gets. I do not believe it deserves this title that it's been called one of the greatest horror films of the decade and one of the greatest post-millennial horror films and all that, and put on this massive pedestal that people have put it on. I don't agree with that, but I do think it's a good horror movie. It's scary, it's creepy, it's effective in what it tries to do. It's nothing new though. It's a story you've seen a million times. It's a standard demon ghost possession movie. You've seen it 100 times already. It is very well made, it is very well shot, and it is very creepy, but it doesn't deserve this reputation it has gotten, in my opinion. I think it's a very effective and creepy horror movie, but it's nothing you haven't seen 100 times already with other possession and ghost movies. So for me, this is like a 7.5 out of 10. I think it's effective, and I think it's worth watching if you're a horror fan, but not nearly as good as everyone gives it credit for. Next up, I think we're going to go to my pick of the month next, because I just, obviously I've already made a video on this. This is the My Bloody Valentine Collector's Edition from Scream Factory. This is my pick of the month, no questions asked. This is one of my favorite things Scream Factory's ever released. This is just so freaking amazing. The 4K restoration on this is absolutely phenomenal. The movie looks incredible, and even when you watch the uncut version, there's even this clip at the beginning where the director says you're going to be watching it the way he intended to the first time, so it's just absolutely awesome. I love the shit out of this. This collector's edition did come with an extra slipcover, but I do like this one the most, so I use this one. Really, really amazing artwork, and you do get the reversible cover art, and you do get, when you open it, you do get the standard version and the uncut version, and it's just absolutely awesome. There was definitely no contest when it came to pick of the month for this. There were a couple others that I do really, really love from my pickups this month, but this one was undeniably the pick of the month, man. This is just such an absolutely amazing collection. I would highly, highly, highly recommend picking this up ASAP, because it is just absolutely awesome. So yeah, My Bloody Valentine Scream Factory Collector's Edition, pick of the month right here. Alright, next up, you know what, let's do this new release before we keep going. Let's do the new release. Dr. Sleep, of course. Alright, so I saw this movie in theaters with my mother. We are both huge Stephen King nuts, and we watched this together in theaters, and this movie is okay, alright. So Dr. Sleep, my thoughts on Dr. Sleep is that the first half of this movie are unwatchably boring. It is one of the most boring movies ever, the first half. I could not have cared less about the story for the first half of this movie. The villains did not interest me. The characters themselves did not interest me. Nothing that was going on was interesting. All the flashbacks and whatnot with the girl, it did not captivate me. I was struggling to stay awake for the first half of this movie when I saw it in theaters. The second half, however, absolutely phenomenal. Oh my goodness. The entire third act of this movie, from the time they go back to the Overlook Hotel to the end of the movie, it is absolutely flawless. Except for that weird little scene in the hedge maze with Rose. That scene was weird. But other than that, the entire second half of this movie, absolutely flawless. One of the best horror things in general of the decade. It was just amazing. The entire Overlook Hotel segment was just brilliant. But the first half of this movie does bring it down substantially for me. I do absolutely love this Blu-ray release, though. This is some great cover art. I really, really like how it has this at the bottom, and then it has Ewan McGregor, and then the little girl. I forget her name. And then Rose, who was an absolutely awesome villain. The villain in this movie, I have to be honest, the villain in the movie was lackluster for me. The scene when they kind of ambushed the villain was very, very, very cool, and they got rid of like the majority of them in that scene. That was very, very, very cool. But Rose was a good villain overall. I did like her, yeah, just. Overall, that's my thoughts on Dr. Sleep. I didn't think it was this horror masterpiece that a lot of people called it when it came out, but I do think it's absolutely great and definitely good enough to buy on Blu-ray. Don't want to show the digital code though. But yeah, you get this on this one. I got the DVD and the Blu-ray. So, oh no, it's not the DVD and the Blu-ray. It's actually the director's cut and the original cut. So that's actually really exciting because I haven't watched the director's cut yet, and I have actually heard the director's cut's a little bit better from some people. So I'm looking forward to watching that. So yeah, that is another one. Definitely one of my favorite pickups of the month is Dr. Sleep. Definitely worth watching if you haven't already. But do get ready because the first half of this movie is mind-numbingly boring. All right, next up. Oh, this movie. The Fanatic, John Travolta, The Fanatic, Fred Durst's debut directorial movie. Oh man, this movie. So as you all know, this movie's god-awful. It's terrible. It's one of the worst movies ever made. But I, serious to God, absolutely love this movie. I need some water. My mouth is getting dry. Alright, much better. Alright, The Fanatic. Like I said, it's one of the worst movies ever made, but good God, this movie is so weird and so bizarre that it is entertaining as hell. It is so entertaining. And that's obviously the reason why I bought it. I like the cover art too. The cover art's cool. I like that. It's pretty cool. And the slipcover is nice. And this does just come with the Blu-ray. Nothing more, nothing less, but that's okay. This movie is one of those horror movies that I think every horror fan needs to watch just to see. Because there's no way to put into words this movie. There's no way to put into words the feeling and the vibe that this movie gives you. It is just weird and bizarre, and you have to watch it to know. So all I'm gonna say for the rest of this little segment is see this movie, watch it somehow, because it is just bizarre, and there's no way to put into words how weird and bizarre the movie is. So, The Fanatic, there you have it. And also the Blu-ray was super cheap, and it came with the slipcover, so yeah, I went ahead and grabbed it. Next up is the one first time watch I have in this list and in this haul. I'm very, very, very excited for this. But yes, this is a very first time watch. This is The Autopsy of Jane Doe. I've heard this movie is really, really, really creepy and suspenseful, and it's one of those movies that just keeps on keeping on, like it will, like some kind of, like a big reveal will happen, and then it will immediately go back into it, and it will start getting more and more suspenseful all over again. I've heard it's one of those movies, and I really, really like those movies, so I am really, really, really looking forward to checking this out. Apparently, it's just super, super creepy. The cover art is really cool, and it came with this dope slipcover, which is awesome. I'm a sucker for slipcovers. And then right here, and I believe it's a DVD Blu-ray combo pack. Yes, Blu-ray DVD combo pack, which is just awesome. Absolutely love that. So I'm really, really, really looking forward to checking this out. This is apparently one of the creepiest horror movies of the decade. I have no idea when this came out. I believe it was 2015, but I could be wrong on that. But I'm really looking forward to checking this out. And this release is from Shout Factory, which is pretty awesome. So yeah, I didn't know this was from Shout Factory when I bought it. I bought it on Amazon, and I look on the cover, look on the spine there, and it says Scream Factory, clear as day. So I am really looking forward to checking this out. Let me know in the comments down below what your thoughts are on the autopsy of Jane Doe. I am really looking forward to checking this out. But no spoilers, obviously, because I haven't watched it. Although by the time this video goes up, I will probably have watched it. So yeah, that is that. Okay, let's see, what should we do next? I think I should probably start on this stuff. Oh, actually, you know what? Let's do this next. The It 2 film collection. This is exactly why I did not buy It Chapter 2 on Blu-ray when it came out. And I knew I was doing the right thing, because I knew this was going to be a thing. I knew some company was going to come along and release this. And I am so happy that I held off. So, this is, of course, both of the 2017 It films, the Bill Skarsgård films, obviously. The first It film from 2017 is one of my favorite horror films of the decade. It's absolutely phenomenal. I love the shit out of it. I think it's a beginning to end brilliant film. It Chapter 2, on the other hand, was very disappointing for me. I thought it was way too long, first of all. I thought the runtime was absolutely absurd. I thought the basic story was overall kind of lackluster, and the entire middle of the movie, the entire second act, was just repetitive and incredibly boring, and it just dragged on forever. And in my opinion, it just really brought the movie down for me. The third act was great in my opinion. I loved the third act, and the first act was pretty darn good. But the second act was so long and so repetitive that I didn't care for it too much. And also, the movie constantly underhands, it constantly low sweeps out the horror by putting in some really stupid joke or something. Like, the perfect example is the scene with the leper and Eddie. The fucking leper starts puking on him, and then it plays Angel of the Morning out of nowhere. It's just... there are so many things about this movie that the director fucked up on, in my opinion. The second one, not the first one. The first one's perfect, in my opinion. But It Chapter 2 was a bit of a letdown for me. And upon the second viewing, because I saw it in theaters day one, actually. I saw it in theaters day one. And the second time I watched this at home with this set, it actually went down even more for me, because the movie is just so uninteresting to me throughout the entire second act. It just does not capture my attention like the first one does, because the first one's about 2 hours long, and it doesn't really drag on at all, because it feels really, it's a very entertaining movie beginning to end. It Chapter 2 totally loses your attention about a quarter of the way through, and there's still so much more runtime at that point that you just want to turn it off at that point. So that is my thoughts on this. This is overall a great set, though. I do highly recommend this set. This is a nice set. Although it did have this really obnoxious sticker down here that I was able to get off with some spray, but it did leave behind a little mark, which isn't that big a deal. Yeah, I'm not really too worried about it, but overall, this is a nice collection. I would highly recommend it, and it does come with the digital films as well, so that's very nice. So that is that. Alright, now let's get into this. I'm going to save this one a little bit longer, because this is probably one of my favorite things I got in the haul. Next up, yeah, sure, let's do this one next. Oh, this movie. Oh, man, this freaking movie. Sinister. Alright, Sinister. I checked this movie out for the first time about a month and a half ago, around that, because I got a recommendation for it. And this movie is brilliant. This is such an amazing horror movie. If you have not seen Sinister, I would highly recommend you get on it ASAP. This is an absolutely brilliant film. I loved this film, beginning to end. This movie is about Ethan Hawke. He plays it's about Ethan Hawke is in it, and it's about his character. He is a crime novelist, and he moves his family into this house that was supposedly a crime scene at one point, and he goes into the attic one day and finds a box full of tapes and shit, and he starts watching them, and these end up being snuff films, and they're really disturbing, and they're snuff films where an entire family is being murdered in this incredibly disturbing and fucked up way, and there's like 5 snuff films, and they are so disturbing, not only with the way they look, but the way they sound as well is also incredibly disturbing. And the snuff films are so creepy. They're probably the creepiest thing about this entire movie. And then as the movie starts to unfold, you get the villain, which is Bagul, the demon Bagul, and he's absolutely awesome. He is one of the coolest villains of the horror villains of the decade, I think. He is incredibly scary. His design is absolutely awesome. He kind of reminds me of Mick Thompson's mask from Slipknot. If you guys know what I'm talking about, he kind of reminds me of that. And he is just really cool as well. This is an absolutely awesome movie. I really enjoy it. I believe it's a Blumhouse movie. Yes, it is. It is a Blumhouse movie. And yeah, I highly recommend it if you have not seen Sinister already. And it's got a great sequel too. Sinister 2 was also really great. I didn't get that one on Blu-ray, but very soon I definitely will, because I really enjoyed that. Actually, one of the guys from It Chapter 2 stars in that movie. I believe the guy who played Eddie was the guy who stars in that movie. So I'm really looking forward to owning that one as well, because I really enjoyed it as well. But Sinister, this movie is absolutely awesome. I highly recommend it. Sinister. Next up, this one. Sweeney Todd, the demon barber of Fleet Street. So, James Agenice, the Dead Meat, he made a kill count on this movie fairly recently, and it was my first time ever seeing anything about this movie, and the movie looked incredibly interesting. I only watched the first 10 minutes of the kill count at first, because the movie looked really cool, and I wanted to watch it for myself, so I stopped the kill count and watched it myself, and I absolutely freaking loved it. This movie is so entertaining. It's so fun. Johnny Depp kills this movie. All the other actors kill it. Alan Rickman's in this movie. The chick that played Bellatrix Lestrange, I forget her name, but she's absolutely excellent in the movie as well. Even the rat guy from Harry Potter, the one rat guy, Peter Pettigrew, whoever that actor is, he's really great in this movie. And this movie is just really creepy, really disturbing, and it's also a horror musical. And I never thought I would say this, but a horror musical absolutely works, because this movie is creepy and scary and effective, and I absolutely loved it, obviously, because I bought it on Blu-ray. Now, this Blu-ray absolutely sucks. I'm definitely going to be on the lookout for a better Blu-ray, because this Blu-ray sucks. This cover is incredibly faded and ugly, and yeah, that definitely was not pleased when I opened this up when I got this in the mail, but still, this movie is awesome. I highly recommend Sweeney Todd in the Demon Barber of Fleet Street. This is an excellent movie. Highly recommend it. I realize I haven't been giving ratings for this, but I guess I'll give Sweeney Todd a rating, probably a 9.5 out of 10. Really enjoyed it. And Sinister is about a 9.5 out of 10 as well. Sinister is definitely a 9.5 out of 10. Doctor Sleep's like a 7 out of 10. Alright, next up. Yeah, I'll do these next. Next up, The Collector, probably my favorite home invasion movie of all time. This movie is just brilliant. I absolutely love it. If you guys have never seen this movie, it is about a man. It is about a thief, a thief who goes to rob this house, and when he gets to this house, the family there's already this complete psychopath there torturing and killing the family that lives there, and he ends up having to kind of forget his thieving ways and help get this family out and save their life from this total psychopath. And it's just an absolute blast. I absolutely love this movie. It's so good. It's definitely one of my favorite home invasion movies ever, if not my absolute favorite. It is a bit disturbing at times as well, but hey, a little disturbing. Obviously, it just adds to a horror film. Really awesome though. And the villain of this movie, the Collector, just like it says on the back here, a new horror icon is born. This guy is absolutely a horror icon. He is creepy, he is scary, he is interesting. I absolutely loved this movie beginning to end. And the opening credits of this movie, the song that plays during the opening credits, Shut Up and Bleed, is probably my favorite opening score of any horror movie ever. It is an absolutely awesome song. If you have not seen The Collector, I would highly recommend it. And I would also highly recommend its sequel, The Collection. So yeah, I picked up both of these because I wanted to rewatch them before The Collected comes out later this year. So really looking forward to The Collected. But yes, The Collection is an absolutely awesome sequel to The Collector. Really bloody, really gross. This takes it to the tens. The first movie. It's kind of a James Cameron type sequel. It takes what the first movie did and kind of blows it up to a massive spectacle, and it is very, 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 very creepy. And the opening scene alone of this movie is one of the bloodiest and goriest scenes in horror history. It is a rough opening scene, but it's also really great. It's scary. It's well, I don't know about scary. It's effective. It's suspenseful. It's disturbing, and the story is great as well. The characters are great. The guy comes back from the first one, and there's also a couple other characters. All the other characters aren't nearly as interesting as Arkin, the guy from the first one, but overall, the movie, in my opinion, is an absolute win. I really, really like it. The Collector is a 10 out of 10 for me, and this one is a like an 8.5 out of 10. I really, really like them both. So, yeah, The Collector and The Collection. Alright, next up, I'm going to do this one next. Actually, no, we're going to do this one next. Blair Witch. This is an absolutely awesome sequel. I love this sequel. So this is the 2016 sequel to the Blair Witch Project, and it is just awesome. I absolutely love this movie. It is super, super creepy, super scary, and it takes what the Blair Witch Project does, and it takes the idea of the Blair Witch and makes it a lot bigger and a lot more, and like it fleshes out the Blair Witch story a lot more. Like in the first movie, you don't know if the Blair Witch exists. In this movie, the Blair Witch exists, and they take that to the tens. They go all out with the Blair Witch in this movie, and it's very creepy, very scary. I really, really enjoyed it. I did watch, the first time I watched it, I did watch it late at night with all the lights off, so maybe that has something to do with me thinking it's so scary, but it did effectively scare me the first time I watched it, and yeah, I enjoyed the hell out of this movie. Definitely highly recommend this, and it's an absolutely awesome sequel to the Blair Witch Project, so really, really, really love this movie. Very, very, very cool. I definitely recommend it. Next up, yeah, let's take that one for last. Misery. Misery. One of my absolute favorite Stephen King adaptations, if not my absolute favorite, honestly. This movie is absolutely brilliant. Both of the lead actors, both of the leads in this movie, Kathy Bates and James Caan, are both absolutely phenomenal in this movie. This is the Scream Factory release as a 4K restoration, and it's just absolutely awesome. I need more water. Oh, sorry about that. I needed water as I was talking too long. But yes, this movie's absolutely brilliant. I'm sure you've all seen it. It's absolutely awesome. And this release from Scream Factory is awesome. I love this cover art with Annie Wilkes, with the sledgehammer right there from the hobbling scene. That's really, really creepy. And then I did switch the cover over, but you do have this cover on there normally, but I did switch it over to the original cover art because I love the original cover art. So really, really, really love this movie. Can't recommend it enough. It is one of my favorite Stephen King adaptations, if not my absolute favorite. I really, really, really love it. Yeah, even over it, I really, really just love this movie. It is just brilliant. Absolutely love it. Just, yeah, definitely one of my favorite horror films. Absolutely love this. Next up, I'm going to save the best for last. We're going to do Cabin Fever next. So this was Eli Roth's directorial debut, and I really love this movie. It's super entertaining, super bloody, super fun, bloody good time, as a lot of people would say, and it is just, it's absolutely awesome. This is a nice Blu-ray. It's nothing too special. It's just a standard Blu-ray, but super entertaining movie, super fun. Not my favorite Eli Roth movie, but definitely up there. Yeah, really bloody fun. Really, really, really love it. So yeah, not much else I can say about this. It's probably an 8.5 out of 10 for me. Really, really love it. Misery's a 10 out of 10, by the way. And last but certainly not least is probably my second favorite release of, well, not release because this didn't come out this month. My second favorite pickup of the month, obviously the My Bloody Valentine is my favorite. The Night of the Demons Scream Factory Steelbook. This is just awesome. It is just absolutely awesome. You get a 4K restoration on this, and the Steelbook itself is absolutely gorgeous. The cover art is so awesome. The Night of the Demons right there. So awesome. Night of the Demons, not the Night of the Demons. Awesome spine. Love the back as well with the note. Yeah, this is just a kick-ass release, man. This has been out for a while. I would definitely recommend picking this up if you haven't already, because it is technically limited, so at some point this will become unavailable. So if you want this, get it now, because it is just absolutely awesome. I freaking love this thing. Where are you going? The party just begun. The party's just begun. And this is one of my favorite horror movies from the 80s, obviously. Night of the Demons is just awesome. What more can you say about Night of the Demons other than it's just awesome, so entertaining, so fun. Great actors. Linnea Quigley, obviously, she's awesome. The acting itself is not very good. The lead in particular, Kathy Podwell, whatever the hell her name is, she's pretty atrocious actually, but this movie is just so entertaining. It's so fun. I love it. It's definitely one of my favorite horror movies from the 80s, and this release is just absolutely awesome. I highly recommend picking it up if you don't already own it. So there we go. That is the haul. Let me know what you guys think of the haul in the comment section down below. Overall, I'm very, very, very pleased with this. I'm really, really looking forward to watching the autopsy of Jane Doe. And like I already said, these would probably have to be my favorite pickups this month. The Misery Scream Factory release, the Night of the Demons steelbook, and undoubtedly my favorite is the My Bloody Valentine collector's edition. The Dr. Sleep one's also up there. That's a really nice release as well. But yeah, there you guys have it. Thank you all so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Subscribe for more horror content. And this is DK Guillotine, signing out.